What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about the mirror principle. If you are familiar with these concepts, you have heard about this principle, and it's pretty much calling attention to this idea: as within, so without. You've also probably heard as above, so below. This is the idea that everything in this world is mental, right? This is an idea from the Kabbalion. The all is mind. The first principle in the Kabbalion is the principle of mentalism, which is to say that the 4D reality is a construction of the imagination, and the 3D reality is a reflection of that construction. That is why we're referring to it as the mirror principle, right? So this in and of itself, this is why it's so funny to me when people come on and talk about how there's no room for logic with any of these ideas, or people demonizing the idea of logic. Is this first principle all of these principles actually are based upon logic. This is a logical understanding that you have, that the more that you, let's look at it like this as well. Say that you have a production line, or you're working, right? This is what you call your inputs. And what does this lead to? It leads to a result, which is your outputs. Again, very logical, linear thinking. The thing is, logical and linear thinking is only half of the battle. It's not that we demonize it. It's not to say, oh no, you never use logic or linear thinking. So many of the best things that are invented by using logical and linear thinking. Engineers, why do we have them? Why are we, constructing roads, constructing computers, constructing incredibly complex things, sending rockets into space? Because of using first principles thinking, and the way that Elon Musk talks about it, all these people, they're using logic, they're using rationality. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to come up with any of this stuff. However, again, that's one side of the coin, because we also need that circular thinking. We need some of that yin energy, some of that feminine polarity to bring to the table, where we get inspiration, we get divine, we get inspired action, right? We get all these terms that people talk about in this manifestation community: intuitive impulses, intuitive nudges, and they're both important, okay? Now, if you are on this path and you are, like, let's say that this is you, right? And you want to focus on your goal of, in this case, let's just use your goal is to make more money, advance in your career. It's a business thing, right? But the thing is, so you have this goal. Let's say that this is the business, and you are exerting some energy in this direction, right? Maybe you got some time going. You're spending, maybe you do monk mode, right? Maybe you expend some energy. But here's the thing: you're also scrolling on social media. You're also thinking about, oh, I hope that girl texts me back. You're also thinking that you're also focused on eating. I mean, obviously, we're all going to focus on eating. I know that's a silly example, but let's say that you are one of these people that, like, you're comfort eating, right? You're binge eating to make up for something, make up for that void that you're feeling within. You're maybe on websites that you shouldn't be, or that's the thing. It's like, it's not to demonize anything. Like, you can go visit those websites if you want to. You can do any of these things. You can eat the sweet treat. You can look at the TikTok videos. But just know that all of this energy that you're pouring into here, you're worried about what other people think about you. You're paying attention, like, your family has things that they're asking you to do. Again, it's not to demonize these things. These things are there. You're also going to the gym. That's actually a healthy thing, right? Maybe you actually are thinking about putting energy on cleaning up your diet. Maybe you're cooking meals. But the thing that you have to realize is that the more that this is going on, all of this other stuff, and this is where we get into the mirror principle. It's not just the actions of doing this. You might even do some of these things, but as long as you are taking this kind of detached approach with your family, or a detached approach with getting your meal plans right, or a detached approach with Could be whatever, creative hobbies, whatever you're doing, right? That's fine as long as you're mentally aware and you take this in phases, right? That your mental awareness, for the most part, is being channeled here. If this is your main goal right now. Now, because what happens is the more, or let's say that you have multiple business ideas, is another example. Well, now energy is getting spread thin because you have a bunch of energy going out here. And the more things that you focus on, you can see how this goes, right? Your energy is dispersed. It's like the same as just like a very soft light. This is the way that our thoughts work, guys. There's very soft lighting, ambient lighting. It's nice, it's beautiful, it's diffused upon the whole room. Now, whereas if you were to take a spotlight, shine it directly, we've all used a ray of magnifying glass, right? And I had a friend when I was a kid, and he would take the magnifying glass out and he would try to like burn the ants. I know that that's like just kind of messed up, but that's what he would do. And you know from seeing that or trying that even if you put your hand in front of it, it's concentrated. It's potent heat now. Now you've channeled the rays of the sun into this very, very potent energy. So instead, if we were to cut out all of these thought distractions and we were to actually control our awareness, we would take the reins back and become aware of what our dominating way. This is all this stuff going on in our awareness right now here, right? And now we take control, and now what's dominating our awareness, instead of focusing on 3, 4, 5 different business ideas, and we've all seen these people, right, where they're like, I had this idea and I had this, and they're going around announcing all these ideas to everybody. That's dissipating energy. You're just leaking out more and more energy, just leaking out non-potent energy, impotent. It's right. That's impotent energy, because you get these dopamine hits from like, oh yeah, like I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. We're all familiar with this. Some of us have done this ourselves as well. As opposed to this person who makes a decision. He decides, or she decides, you know what? I'm going to go all in on this thing. I'm not going, I had these other ideas and stuff, but this is really going to be my focus. And what do? Not only with their time and their attention, but also, like I said, with their attention. So now all of this, look at how powerful this becomes. You can still have, your other thoughts. You still a little bit of that going on, but for the most part, this is what it is, inputs and outputs. Now you're charging this up, and all of your energy is concentrated into this one direction because you are focused. What do we say here? As within, so without. Now, just to bring this all home, what is this really here that we're dealing with here? When we talk about disciplining our awareness, another word for that is our attention. And our attention, what is that also? As within, so without. Everything that our attention based on our focus, which could be our affirmations, it is the dominating thoughts in our awareness. It is that narrative going on in our day-to-day, that dominating story, the narrative that we're telling ourselves. But what really is it underlying that? It is energy. E for energy, right? So, one of the best tools that we have at our disposal to direct our energy is to direct our thoughts. Our thoughts are real forces. Our thoughts are directed energy that are collapsing. Looking at it from an energetic perspective, a quantum perspective, it is collapsing those waves into particles. And that is what manifestation is. That is like materialization in the 3D plane. So again, going back to the mirror idea, you're looking at the 3D. Another way of doing this is here you got the 3D. Sorry, I misspoke here. Here's you got the 4D. How could I mistake that? And the 3D. Your inputs, which is your thoughts, which is your attention, which is your awareness, which is your energy, is going to have an output into the 3D. So I hope that this makes sense, guys. I hope that you found this valuable. Now, if you want specific techniques on how to do this, because it is, while this concept to understand it is pretty simple, It's not easy, right? It's not easy to constantly be directing and managing our energy in the direction that we want, rather than allowing it to be dispersed in all these different directions, where again, it loses its potency because we're dispersed, we're haphazard, we're reacting, right? We're reacting to the 3D. We're saying, oh, this person said this. What if I get rejected? What if XYZ happens? A lot of these fears that we have are of our own making. And I've mentioned in a previous video as well, this entire idea about thoughts and feelings. Your thoughts and your feelings, they do not exist in a vacuum, okay? People are like, oh, your feelings. This gets talked about a lot too, and nowadays modern therapy speak and all this, that your feelings, your feelings are valid. That's one phrase, right? But here's the thing, your feelings and your thoughts, if you're having an intrusive thought, if you're saying, oh, this person's going to reject me and oh, this thing, the valid thing becomes a problem when you start to justify and come up with reasons why you're feeling this way. So you're feeling something, so therefore it must be based on logical rationality. It must be based in truth because you're feeling something. Not necessarily always the case, guys. I've had tons of times where I'm going through it. Take a step back, take a logical perspective, or take a step back, take a higher perspective, use some reason. When you look at the David Hawkins scale of consciousness, reason is actually pretty high up on the scale. And when you look at something and you kind of disassociate, you disidentify with that emotion, you say, okay, I'm experiencing this emotion right now, but just the same way that I am not my thoughts, right? The same way they teach in Buddhism, the same concept they teach in Buddhism. You are not your feelings either. You can detach from them, observe them, and that is when you become powerful. That is when you have power over them. You do not need to embrace things just because somebody says something a lot, whether it is feel it real, you are the technique, take no action, any of these nice feel good things, your feelings are valid. Yeah, your feelings are real. They're absolutely 100% real. Now, once you acknowledge them and once you observe them and once you allow them to be there, that's when you can allow them to pass through and you can transcend them. And that is part of the deal with this, because you have all these concerns, you have all these things that are leading to these negative feeling states, right? And by allowing them to be there, be like, okay, the big bad wolf's knocking at the door, but that doesn't mean that I have to invite him in. That doesn't mean, even if I do invite him in, I can offer him tea, I can sit there, but he doesn't have to emotionally, I don't need to be so scared of him anymore. Because I realize he's just this intrusive thought, this big bad wolf that's coming into the door, but he's not going to eat me because I know my power. I know that just because I allow and sit down with the demon, right? The demon Mara, Buddha invited the demon Mara over for tea. This is something, I talk about all of this in my book, and my book really gives you a higher level understanding of all of what I'm talking about in this video right now. But essentially, one higher level technique, advanced concept technique that you can do is by allowing those feelings to be there, by sitting with them and acknowledging them. Yes, I have fear. Yes, I have anxiety. Yes, I have doubts. And I can still get what I want anyway. It doesn't mean intrinsically that there's something wrong with me. We all go through these things, no matter what level of success, what level of, thought control or manifestation power, whatever you want to call, no matter how powerful of a person you evolve to, there will always be some kind of intrusive thought. That's just part of the human experience. There will always be negative emotions. You can't completely ever get rid of them ever. But the key is to allow them to pass through, so that's when we shift into this place where we're then able to take detached action, which then leads to our desired result. And again, you notice detached action. What is that? The union of opposites. It's the yin and the yang working together in harmony. And that is how you're going to have success with manifestation. That is how you're going to have success with creating the life that you want, whatever you want to call it, your self-development journey, your hero's journey. And again, if you guys are interested in really diving in, really understanding everything that I've talked about and much more, specific techniques to really dial in your thought, really dial in this energy so that you are directing it productively, consciously to create your reality, the reality that you're choosing, not react to all of this outer stuff, download the book below. When you proceed to checkout, you'll be given an exclusive discount, which I'm only running through the end of the month here, where you're going to be given the audiobook as well for half off. So it's a bundle deal. You get the audiobook as well. That way, anytime you're traveling, anytime you're doing anything, whether it's errands, no matter what you're doing during the day, at night, you can plug it in, put it in your AirPods, put it on your phone, and just soak in the information, just absorb it, let it seep into your subconsciousness so you develop this higher level understanding of these things and you're really able to transcend these again and move in the direction of what you want. With that being said, guys, much love, and I'll see you guys in the next video.